Hello, everybody, and welcome to Planet FPL, the world where everything revolves around Fantasy Premier League. My name's Suj.
And my name is James.
Yeah, just a quick question, James, before we get into all the usual FPL stuff. Is there a Champions League fantasy game? There is, isn't there?
Yes, and I play it.
Nice. I better get myself signed up for next season because it'd be nice to have some West Ham players in Champions League, mate. Champions League.
Listen, spoiler, right?
Oh, yeah.
Spoiler. A spoiler for West Ham season. So it's April, and I can already see all the social media.
It's February.
This is a spoiler. I'm telling you what's going to happen in 2 months.
What's happening in April? Yeah.
And they're all going to be online, GSB out and all that, because you ain't got no fucking fit striker. If we'd have bought a striker, we could have qualified for Europe and all that. Right, I'm preempting the rest of your season. Go, you may continue the podcast now.
Well, we'll see. I mean, Jesse Lingard did an okay job yesterday filling in the hole that was left with no Antonio. However, we're not talking about just Tottenham and West Ham, although I'm enjoying another good victory yesterday, which we will be talking about. FPL, James, FPL. Where are you at? That's a very broad and vague question.
It was a little bit, yeah. I don't know where to start.
On purpose.
I think you mean where am I at with my game week is probably.
Just in general.
Just in case those are listening later in the week, each Tuesday. So obviously this doesn't factor in the Wednesday night games. I am on 80 points at the moment for the game. Actually, that's a lie because I've got Southampton's points off the bench. I'm on 86 for the game week with technically 6 to go, but it's probably 4. i.e. Ben Mee is concussed, I assume, out of the Burnley game on Wednesday. Well, Sean Dyche said he wouldn't play on Wednesday. Gundogan, captain, I presume, is not going to play for Manchester City against Everton, so that would leave me Areola, Lookman, Diaz and Stones to go. 60k jump up to 343k. Sign of the times, mate, when 75 would have given me a red arrow at the moment. Going is tough.
It's incredibly tough at the moment. I'm almost at the point of a little bit of FPL fatigue, in that I probably from the City, definitely from the City game, not owning Gundogan, I've not checked my score until this morning, and I couldn't really be bothered to either, knowing that there were so many games left to play. Yeah, I mean, I've had a red arrow as it stands, but is it even worth judging? Because like you said, you've got 4 players left to play. I've got my captain still to play a second game in Pope, Lowton, Diaz, Cancelo, Foden, all still with fixtures to play. And I've got Southampton coming in off the bench that will take me up to 69 at the moment. I could still end up comfortably on 85, 90 points, and that you'd hope would be a green arrow. But I felt like it was another scenario, another situation where I had a vested interest in the Palace Burnley game, which was one of the first games, because I'd captained Pope and I had Lowton. And so I wanted to watch that game. And I watched that game with a little bit of fear, captaining Pope, because it's quite a left field move. I know quite a lot of people did do it, but generally speaking,
I didn't hate it as a move.
No, of course. But that last 5 or 10 minutes, obviously, when Burnley went 1-0 up, I thought, 1-0 is good because now they're going to scrap and fight for their lives to keep their 1-0 lead. But a 3-0 up, teams get complacent. Yeah. They get complacent and they can leak the odd leaky goal. And I felt like tweeting after the game. I mean, Lowton scored, which felt like a dozen million goals. And I felt like tweeting after the game that the last 10 minutes of Palace Burnley emotionally exhausted me so much that I can't be bothered to watch the City Spurs game. That's like things you never thought you would say, is that Palace and Burnley has drained me to the extent that I can't now be bothered to watch Manchester City Spurs. And being on a high with Pope did okay as captain, right? He's sitting on 16 points at the moment, another clean sheet. He could be up to like 25, 30 points. Lovely. And Lowton, 15 points. After the Burnley Palace game and surviving, I felt, this could be so good. And then Gundogan comes and gives me a kick in the bollocks just in time for Valentine's Day. And everything after that felt like, you know what, just wait until the game week's finished? Why get so emotionally up and down after every single individual match? Take a foot off and just chill. Like, I've got no control over what happens between now and the end of the game week because my team is set. So not to get sucked into every up and every down, because in any given game week, people are having highs and then they're having lows and then they're having highs and then they're having lows. I don't think it's good for our brains, mate, all this up and down yo-yoing emotionally. So that's why I'm saying FPL fatigue. I checked out after Gundogan. I was like, there's nothing I can do now. What I'm going to do, check how many bonus points Gundogan's on every 5 minutes, knowing that it's maximum, or worry about the next day. And even the next day, like Rashford was a bit of a differential. He's not got high ownership for me. I thought, you know what, West Brom, come on, Rashford. If he hauls, I could be back up there and fighting again. He didn't. So yeah, it's very difficult at the moment. The highs and lows seem to be really yo-yoing a lot, and it's a pain in the arse.
Yeah, I get that. We spoke about this last week, the idea of you're in a certain position and it feels like you're not really going anywhere. I mean,
No.
the return. So what are you on points-wise this week?
63 plus 6 for Soufal on the bench.
So you're on
Who's
69.
Coming on for Antonio. 69.
And a red arrow. And this is kind of the point I made.
60, a red arrow with 63. I'm not sure. I should check our friends at Live FPL Rank.
This is kind of the point I made on one of the pods we did last week. Was about, yeah, everybody feels like they want that differential to give them like the rise at the moment. But if the template player goes off, it just doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter. I mean, the only solace for non-Gundogan owners at the moment, by looks of it, is that he's probably not going to play again this game week. Otherwise, there's every chance that things are going to get worse. My week has had some good returns. So, I mean, Areola, 6-pointer, could still technically outscore Pope this week, could technically still outscore Martinez this week. As said, I've lost Ben Mee. Had no Ruben Diaz, but presumably comes back in. John Stones, clean sheet. Gundogan, captain. Bruno, goal, which was no good for me. Salah, goal, neither here nor there. That's it. Soufal off the bench. So, I mean, Gundogan, 38 points is a mass into, I mean, about 40,
half your team score, basically.
40 to 45% of my score, right? So,
yeah, it's crazy.
That's critical. I'm pretty sure that's my highest captain score of the season. Must be
incredible. Yeah, anything over 30, and
I'm sitting here wishing I'd stuck the triple on him. Obviously, like even just for the one game. But then, if it turned out to just be the one game, in hindsight, that's probably the incorrect move to go. Well, yeah, triple captain Gundogan versus Tottenham. But yeah, it's worked out. I obviously don't get no enjoyment in it because of my own team. But hanging in there. I expected the week to probably finish with a green arrow, but with only 4 left for me, I think there's others going into the 2 games on Wednesday with sort of 6-7 left. Every chance, so I mean, it can swing either way. There's teams out there with like treble Burnley defensive, right? Say like Tarkovsky, Lowton, and Pope. I mean, you've probably done well if you've ended up on that 3 as a combination, but someone out there will have that. So there's every chance they're gonna do really well tomorrow if there's a clean sheet. I actually think, mind, that with me out, I think Fulham will win at Burnley. But we'll talk about that a bit when we talk about Burnley, because I think you can probably share more light on the game on Saturday, because I didn't watch it properly, mate. I was prepping myself for Tottenham's massive game at Manchester City. I was obviously preparing myself mentally for the letdown.
What were we doing? Drinking vodka or whiskey?
No. Just I can't drink through a Mourinho regime, mate. I'm done with alcohol. I'm going to say something very regrettable if I drink, I think.
It's funny because one of my cash mini leagues that I'm in that I want to win, I really felt this week, and not just this week, but between now and game week 29, because of my planning, the guy who's top is about 50, 60 points ahead. So not uncatchable, has used all his chips. And I really thought this is the week that I'm going to be able to start making ground and start catching up. Now, this guy has a front line of Bamford, Richarlison, Adams, all blanked. And then Holding, Diaz, McCarthy. That's 2 points between 3 of those guys. And yet, because he captained Gundogan, has beat me this week. Has beat me this week. And so I'm just like banging my head against the wall.
You're probably going to catch him back up on Wednesday, right? That's.
I'd hope so.
Yeah.
I'd hope so. And this Burnley-Fulham game will have a big impact on whether or not my game week ends up being really good or just another one to put in the rearview mirror and keep going forward.
Summary piece of advice right now is FA Cup fixtures were announced yesterday. There's a possibility we might even get them Premier League fixtures today. I'm pretty sure now that we will get them this week, I would hope. Don't do anything at least until you know what's happening in game week 26. Please don't make any early transfers.
Should we talk about some of the games as we do each and every Planet FPL main podcast? We talk about the fixtures, the FPL assets from the teams, whether or not we're looking, not looking, going to leave, ignore, and then a little bit of looking forward. If we get some time at the end, if we don't ramble on about the games too much, we can get some Twitter questions in as well.
Go on then. Let's ramble. Liverpool, not looking. Next. Who would have thought you'd be saying that?
Oh, mate, I put it in a WhatsApp group with some lads, and I think this is a very edgy, inappropriate comment. But I said goalkeepers are like horses. Once they go lame, you may as well just put them down because they never recover. Yeah, it's harsh, but I don't think Alisson will not recover. I think he's too good a goalkeeper. But
did you just suggest that Alisson should be killed?
Yeah, like goalkeepers. No, what I'm saying is goalkeepers, once they go crock or have that loss of confidence or something goes wrong and they make a major error in their career, sometimes recovery is not, you just don't see it. You look at what Rob Green did with England, they're never the same afterwards. Petr Cech's unfortunate head injury was not his fault, right? But after that, never quite the same as he was before. You see it with so many goalkeepers where something bad happens and mentally, it's one of the toughest positions on the pitch from a mental point of view to recover from that. And he's now made 3 mistakes in 2 weeks that have cost Liverpool points as well. It's concerning for where his headspace is at. Now, if I had to gamble, Alisson's going to recover and he's going to be fine. But
yes, 100%.
It is difficult right now when you're piling on those kind of mistakes into the situation. We talked about it in the Q&A yesterday for the patrons, though. For the majority of the game, Liverpool were quite good, though.
Yeah, just on keepers. I mean, Ederson is a good case in point. I mean, he was really bad for Manchester City last season, and he's basically been close to faultless over the last 3 months or so. So it's very easy to, if you're top class, you find your form back, and there aren't many better goalkeepers anywhere than Alisson. It's just he's had mistakes happen in a couple of very high profile games. Nobody's saying he's shot as a goalkeeper, like, or Liverpool need a new goalie or anything like that. He'll get it back.
It's absolute tongue in cheek. But I do stand by the thing is, like, once goalkeepers do start going off the boil, it's difficult.
I think it's
Joe Hart, for example. Once he lost it and could never recover. Yeah.
It's a product of what was happening in the game as well, in terms of the particular mistake here for the Vardy goal. Was Leicester were only a threat if they went over the top.
Mm-hmm.
Why Liverpool didn't retreat a little bit deeper at 1-0 and 1-1 that's open for debate and up to the manager. But that was only going to be the threat during the game. Vardy over the top, and I think this was one where Alisson went, "Well, I need to deal with it." But the problem is his decision making on the particular incident is awful. And as I said on our Patreon pod yesterday, he has to, once he comes, he has to wipe out his defender, wipe out everything, and he's never getting there. Did he even call for it? I mean, if he didn't call for it, it's unforgivable, because Kabak, I felt a bit sorry for him. He's got no chance in that situation. Unless he gets the shot, he has to play the ball. And actually, his diversion is going back towards the goalkeeper. So if Alisson has stayed, he probably ends up like a back pass and he just kicks it down the field. But when it goes for you and goes against you, it hits Alisson on the side of the shin and goes straight to Vardy.
Yeah,
he can't miss. But yes, I thought for large parts of the game, Liverpool were a better team. I thought they were in control. There were certain things possession-wise. I mean, you threw a brilliant stat on that pod yesterday about Trent giving the ball away 45 times, which is
incredible.
That's a crazy stat. But he was going direct quite a lot. I thought the tempo in the first half from Liverpool was better. I felt like that they were trying to energize themselves in certain ways. And the problem is, once a moment goes against you, like the equaliser, penalty, no penalty, goal, no goal, goal, mentally they panicked. They panicked. And from 2-1, it was only ever going to be 3-1 or then 4-1.
Yeah.
And Leicester took advantage. Tactically, James Maddison admitted himself after the game. He said they had a pre-plan before the game that if Liverpool went ahead, they were going to change immediately to a diamond. That's what they did. Barnes going right up top give Leicester the second weapon of the pace over the top. And Ayoze Perez, who's not the best footballer, but he's quite a clever player actually, did some really good off-the-ball work to trouble Liverpool positionally. And that opened the doors for Leicester to then go and win the game. And if you only watched the last 10 minutes, you'd go, Liverpool got battered. That's not quite what happened. But it's all you'll remember is Liverpool had a mad 7 minutes and got blown away. Other than that, Liverpool probably shaded the game. But from an FPL perspective, even with a double game week coming, I mean, I can't be going back to Trent or Robertson. No. Antonio Rudiger got his 6th clean sheet last night. He's only played 9 or 10 games. He's got the same fucking clean sheets as Liverpool. I can't be going back to a Robertson or a Trent. I've got Salah. I might find him expendable in 26 if I really, really want Heung-min Son. He probably hangs around for me, but no interest in adding to anything else. Leicester's an awkward one where I probably can't get to them, actually.
The challenge I'm having, elsewhere. The challenge I'm having with Leicester is one of those where you end up in FPL sometimes looking at the situation with the wrong perspective. What I mean by that is Leicester don't play in game week 29. I'm obviously working towards game week 29, and they don't double in game week 26. So I'm thinking, well, why am I buying a player from a team that doesn't double in 26 and doesn't play in game week 29? Yet if I look around it, 27, 28, Brighton and Sheffield United potentially. And then they do come out of game week 29 with Man City, but 31 onwards, they've got a great run. West Ham, West Brom, Palace, Southampton, Newcastle. I want a bit of Leicester for that. But I just can't justify buying one of them now.
You still got the wild card, right?
I do still have my wild card.
So there's no point looking up to game week 38 for yourself personally then.
No, exactly. But 31 is when I'll probably go back and have a look at getting a couple of Leicester assets. Like Maddison over Grealish is the one that I can get to when I downgrade Marcus Rashford. And with Grealish's extra fixtures, I feel like Maddison's in better form. And Maddison's the player I would rather have, but Grealish has got probably 2 or 3 extra fixtures in that time period. So I'll end up going with Grealish over Maddison. But yeah, Leicester looking okay.
Harvey Barnes is in great form as well, right? Going back to game with 15, 7, 8, 2, 9, 6, 6, 8, 3, 3, 12. Some great returns there for Harvey Barnes over that period. And importantly, in that period as well, 90 minutes in all but one of them was removed after 75 minutes of the 2-0 win against Fulham, which was quite comfortable and saving legs. He was always, towards the start of the season, underlying stats looking amazing, but it was the concern that suddenly he'd come out of the team. At the moment, he's firing. The caution, of course, on Leicester is Europa League is back this week. So that's a little bit of caution. But I think for wildcarders, and we know there will be players on wildcard this week, I think I would want to find a place to get one in. I know what you're saying about Barnes, Maddison versus Grealish. Unfortunately, it's just the idea in my mind that Villa will double in 26, as obviously Leicester will. Villa could have another double in 27 or 28. Then they play the blank in 29. And potentially getting two extra fixtures of a Grealish versus a Barnes or Maddison in the space of 4 game weeks. That's enough to make me want to move and go, unfortunately, with the Villa player for the comparison. Yeah. But I think generally I'd want to find a place for one. Ricardo Pereira obviously kind of stands out now as an option at 5.9 million, 0.4% owned. Brilliant differential. Has been a very good asset in the past. James Justin's unfortunate injury means it opens a place. I'm just not sure if 5.9 is quite justifiable. Castagne 5.7 when he's back is an alternative, but I'd rather pay the extra for Pereira. Siunshu 5.3, Evans 5.5, both feels a little bit too much. Same with Kasper Schmeichel 5.5. I would want one of the midfielders still, I think. I mean, you can have Barnes and Grealish, for example. It is possible Barnes to go down that
Barnes
route.
Is cheap enough. At the moment, it's a challenge of squeezing in enough players. That's difficult.
Interestingly, I think Jamie Vardy's largely going to be ignored. 16% owned at the moment because I think when we get there, the priority for people is going to be Kane. And then because you've got all these guys like Watkins, Antonio, Bamford, Calvert-Lewin, Danny Ings, all at cheaper, people are going to go primarily with two of that group rather than Kane and Vardy, or Vardy over Kane. So Jamie Vardy could be a really interesting differential for you because, as you say, Villa away, Arsenal at home, and presumably Burnley away in the double is decent. Then Brighton away, Sheffield United at home. But I also don't know if those fixtures are as good as they look. Brighton have improved massively defensively. Sheffield United, yeah, you scored 3 against them last night. Was that a fair score, 3-0? Being honest?
We should have scored 3, but they should have scored as well. 3-2 would probably have been a fairer score. 3-2 is what I would have said. I mean, Fabi pulled out a couple of worldies yesterday, so 3-2 I think would have been an okay result. But they're not good defensively, Sheffield United. Forget about it.
For those who are free hitting in 29, Leicester are more interesting. Is probably the point. But there obviously feels like a movement away from this 29 free hit idea, working on the assumption that Villa Tottenham is now going to go into 29. There's a lot of people now looking and well, exactly kind of what we covered there with Grealish versus Barnes. If you go for the Villa and the Tottenham assets, it's going to cover you through. There's less need. We spoke obviously on Friday's strategy pod about 33 as a potential alternative for free hitters. I'm without mines. It makes no difference to me. I can't see me buying Leicester, unfortunately. I'd like to, though.
Not for a little while. Yeah. Crystal Palace 0, Burnley 3. Ended up being a quite comfortable win for Burnley in the end. 3-0. If you look at the stats, I mean, Palace had almost just as many shots as Burnley. They shaded possession just a little bit.
They lose when they have more of the ball. We've covered this before.
Yeah, exactly. And they lose when they don't have Zaha. They can't score goals without Zaha. Burnley were good. I thought Burnley controlled the game well. I like Jay Rodriguez up top. He's always, I mean, he's maybe I think he's all right because I know he's scored against us quite a few times. And so I know what he's capable of alongside Ashley Barnes. But I thought Burnley did what Burnley do. They mopped everything up. The quality of the chances that Crystal Palace had wasn't good. Like, I have no idea what the XG was from that game, but I would be surprised if it was high for Crystal Palace because they weren't good. And Burnley dominated. They did what they do, right? They cleaned everything away from the box. Me and Tarkowski were solid.
They played some good football, Burnley, right?
Yeah, they were in the first half, especially. I thought they were decent. With the defensive assets in FPL, you can't help but live with your heart in your mouth because one goal at any moment from a free kick clearance and all your points disappear. But Burnley, if I was watching it as a Burnley fan, I'd be like, this is all right. I enjoy watching this game. And there was never any doubt. I thought that Burnley were not going to win that game. But they were the better team from start to finish. So yeah, good. But Crystal Palace quite toothless. The quality of their chances and stuff was not good. I just didn't think it was very good from them. But yeah, Burnley were decent. I'm happy owning Pope now, for sure.
How many points clear of Palace of Fulham?
How many points clear of Palace are Fulham? Or of Fulham,
Fulham are Palace. Sorry, apologies. Have a quick look for us. And while you do,
I think Fulham have gone up to 18. I think Palace must be at least 10 points, minimum 10 points clear.
I'm not sure it's that many. Why you have a look anyway? The Wilfred Zaha stats.
More, mate. It's 11.
11 points.
Yeah.
So what? Palace on 29.
29. Fulham on 18. Okay, Fulham have a game in hand.
If Wilfred Zaha's out for the rest of the season, they could still go down. That would generally be my take, honestly, because they have a psychological mental block. They've lost 18 of their last 20 games in which Wilfred Zaha has not played in the Premier League, and in 16 of those 20 games, they've failed to even score. 16 of 20 games without Zaha.
We haven't seen Mateta, but Batshuayi, Benteke, if they have a bad day, they're not going to create enough chances and score enough goals. 100%. That stat plays out to what you see in their performances, for sure.
The reason I say it, right, they've got a big game on Monday night, the A23 Mickey Mouse Derby or whatever it's called, away to Brighton. Now, they notoriously have had quite a good record against Brighton, generally speaking, particularly at the Amex, oddly enough. But at the moment, you fancy Brighton to beat them, wouldn't you, on Monday night, I think?
Yep.
Then they've got Fulham at home the following week. Right now, you'd think Fulham could go there and beat them, wouldn't you?
Yep.
Then it's Tottenham away in 27. Then they've got West Brom at home in 28. Now, should they come through those 4 games and do badly, because actually on the face of it, Brighton, Fulham, Tottenham, West Brom is a decent fixture list. Bearing in mind it's highly likely they're going to have Manchester United added to that double game week with Fulham. Their running is not good, let me tell you. So I think they'll need some points in these next 4. Listen, if they just beat Fulham on its own as a standalone, that's enough to keep them up.
Probably,
prioritise that one game. Beat Fulham, that's it, you're safe. But I'm a little bit worried about them because they're the one, if you looked at it, there's always someone who seems to drop into it. We've known for a while Newcastle are not particularly safe. If I looked at the way Palace are playing at the moment, the way Newcastle are playing at the moment, there's more chance of Newcastle staying up.
Correct.
I'm actually watching. Palace should have enough points already. It could be that as little as 2 wins would keep them up. But if someone was to fall like a stone suddenly, I feel like it's them. And it's dependent on the injury status as a whole. And imagine taking Eze out this team at the moment as well. And the one thing they're not doing this year, which they've been very good at in the past, is defensively. That defensively are not right. They took Chiati out for the Leeds game, who's possibly been their best player this year. Brought him back in for this game. Set pieces, they're having major problems this season. So if you're sitting there going, well, why did I go me or Tarkowski over Matt Lowton? Jay Rodriguez's goal is exact proof of why. Palace aren't defending on set pieces at all. You associate that with them. Think about when you played them, mate, the Craig Dawson header. I feel like I'm seeing that goal against Palace every other week.
They obviously had injury issues at centre-back, and Kouyate's had to drop back. And when I look at their midfield, like McArthur and McCarthy were out. And I look at Milivojevic as the guy who's the driving force or the energy in midfield. Forget about it. Kouyaté having to drop back to centre-back means that he can't play defensive holding midfielder all of a sudden. So they've lost their centre-back and they've lost their defensive holding midfielder. And Milivojevic, he ain't got nothing much other than a free kick or a penalty in him, really. He's not that good at all. So they've really struggled in that area, and it showed. I mean, yeah, I did just pull up the XG set. They had 13 shots, 0.65 XG. It just tells you the quality was just not there.
Shit.
The quality of the chances just wasn't good enough, and Burnley did okay. I do feel sorry for the Ben Mee owners. Like, I don't know the extent of the injury, but obviously he was stretchered off and it was pretty bad. If even concussion stuff and concussion rules kick in,
I would say
not gonna play.
The Ben Mee absence is bad news for owners and non-owners. Because if you've got other Burnley assets, trust me, Ben Mee being out is not good for Nick Pope or anything either. Admittedly,
Kevin Long is not gonna be able to fill those boots.
But you only have to look at the results at the start of the season. Leicester lost 4-2, Southampton lost 1-0, Newcastle lost 3-1, West Brom 0-0, Tottenham lost 1-0, Chelsea lost 3-0. Those were the games until Ben Mee came back. Oh, and guess what? That's when the clean sheets happened. First game back with Ben Mee, 0-0 at Brighton, then 1-0 at home to Palace. Then the run of all them Nick Pope clean sheets because he missed the Man City away 5-0 game. But literally, Burnley's upturn in form at the start of the season was just purely down to Ben Mee. And the massive knock-on effect to Ben Mee, which would probably go a little bit unnoticed, but Jack's spoken about this before. It also means that Tarkowski probably goes and plays out of position as the left-sided centre-back, which he's not comfortable in. And then Kevin Long comes in, who's bang average. So generally, I would expect Fulham to go to Burnley and win tomorrow night at the moment. Just on that one change.
Yeah, I can. Yeah, I'm in hope that it's not going to happen, but that is a big miss for Burnley.
There's a chance that he plays against West Brom at the weekend. It looks like he's going to miss out because of the concussion protocol, which is the correct thing. I thought it was 7 days. I don't know if this is confirmed or not, but I've now since heard that it's 6 days in terms of the concussion protocol. I don't know, it's 6 days rather than 7. But if it's 6 days, obviously, but Mee could play against West Brom at the weekend.
If he's fit, that's the other thing as well.
Well, he's fine. I think Dyche is basically saying that if the protocol wasn't there, then in theory he could play tomorrow. But the best thing for Ben Mee is obviously not to play.
Yeah, no point in risking it. Moving on to Man City Spurs. This is, I feel like, did we learn anything? Did we learn anything from this game, or was it as we expected? Um, what we
Yeah,
thought would play out. I really feel like
what
what
I've
we thought
learned
would play out.
is that people will still ask stupid questions.
Yeah, so look, I mean, who's nailed on at the back for Spurs, James?
There you go.
Lloris.
I mean, listen, if you want a nailed defensive player from Spurs, yeah, it's the guy who just conceded 8 goals in the space of 4 days and should have saved at least half of them, by the way. Yes, Hugo Lloris, who's in a bad moment at the moment, but there's no question on his place. Yeah, genuinely, yes. If you are desperate to buy a Tottenham player defensively, the goalkeeper or buy Region. Region is back in training. But you have to understand
if you are desperate to buy a Spurs defender right now, you should probably
need to be
consider
asking what you're
playing
doing.
FPL. Yeah, I don't think this is the game for you.
But it's like we're talking about with the Barnes Grealish comparison. I do get it. People going, I've got the double. I've got Crystal Palace at home afterwards who can't score, right? And then 29 fixture as well. So I do get why people are looking at that way, because they're going, well, yeah, I want Kane, I want Son. Well, there's definitely no attacking other player. I don't be going Bergwijn, Lucas, and Dombele or any stuff like this for FPL. Don't do it. So if you were to have a third, as crazy as it is a defensive one. Personally, I would recommend the goalkeeper because he's got so much to do. There's a good chance that if he does keep a clean sheet, you're looking at a 9-10 pointer, right? Because he's going to get save points and stuff. So I would recommend paying that. Region, as I said, is back in training. The thing is, you want the guaranteed player. The people ain't saying which Spurs defensive asset, James. People were saying to me, who's nailed? Right, well, Europa League is restarting and there's going to be rotation. It's as simple as that. So if you want me to guarantee you now that player X plays twice in a double, I can't guarantee you any of them will. Literally none of them. So if that's why you want the player, I would look somewhere else. Exactly. Otherwise, if you want to buy one, buy Region. Would be what I'd say.
You're talking about in a backline that is conceding goals and who's nailed and who hasn't. And the player that comes in at right back and plays 90 minutes hasn't played a minute this season so far at all in Tanganga. So it wouldn't surprise me now if Mourinho starts rotating that back line quite a bit.
Yeah, possibly. Another note as well is Joe Rodon can't play in Europa League.
Wasn't registered.
He's not been registered. Now, I don't get this, but Tottenham could have registered him, but decided not to. Decided to go elsewhere in terms of registering of players for the second stage. So if we want to give a perfect case, Alderweireld, right? I said to most people on Friday, won't play at City because after 120 minutes at Everton, fucked. So what you saw at City, there's every chance Alderweireld comes back in for Sanchez. I mean, it was laughable in the third goal, wasn't it? Dyer, who's been Mourinho's boy all season, but it's like he's got the hump with Dyer because he kept giving away penalties. Is Dyer back in favour now? I don't know off the back of that. Is the Europa League team on Thursday going to give you any clues? No, because he might decide to put Rodon back in the team again in the league. So I wouldn't go near that. Region is definitely first choice over Davis. And Aurier is definitely first choice over Doherty. As kind of proven by the fact he did not want to put Doherty against Raheem Sterling at the weekend. Completely understandable. And Tanganga did okay. I spoke to you off camera and said, in a way for Jaffet, that these bigger games are better for him. He only has to concentrate on defending. The possession of the ball is not so important to him and stuff. So yes, Aurier and Region are the favoured fullbacks. But when you've got Europa League football as well, these guys are going to chop and change. And Europa League is going to become more serious for Tottenham in the coming weeks because, as I keep saying, the league campaign is finished.
Correct. With Man City, had Gundo not injured his knackers or whatever, his groin or whatever issues he was having below the waistline, we would be seriously discussing now. Look, he's at 35% ownership. There are players that don't own him. I mean, Twitter between the hours of like 5:30 and 7 was tears from everybody that doesn't own him. But the debate would be raging now about do we all just pile in and cover him off. I feel like I want to get to Gundogan. I don't now because of the injury, let me add. But as a defensive move, like I just need to cover it off because it just keeps hurting me week after week. and Foden to Gundogan, I just, sometimes you just think, let's just get it done, and that's that. The injury has put paid to that because I don't need to worry about it until the weekend. But what are your thoughts on this defensive? Just get him in to cover off the third of the people that do have him, and he is hurting people week in, week out at the moment.
The first thing I want to do is laugh at the 265,000 people who've already bought him this week. That's ridiculous.
Yeah.
That's 265,000 people who didn't watch him limp off the pitch, I presume. He's not helped, obviously, because there's a second game in the game week. Obviously, FPL haven't flagged him.
Yeah.
And he's not the only one. Like Ben Mee doesn't have a flag either. And the reason for that is there's every chance that they will be available in game week 25. So there's no point flagging them for the midweek till they know more. So people are just looking at it and going, he's gone mental again. He's not flagged. Fine. He must be okay. I'll buy him. Oh, Jesus. It worries me, some people. Anyway, in terms of, let's just say hypothetically that he is fit. And there's been conflicting reports on that. So City Extra were reporting Sunday night, and they're pretty reliable that he was possibly out for 3 or 4 weeks. But then the suggestion from Sam Lee, who's well connected to City yesterday, was he's got an outside chance of playing at Everton, but probably won't be risked. In which case you think from that, he could be back for Arsenal on Sunday. In terms of covering it off, and like you've got Foden, you're saying you want to move to Gundogan. I'm not sure that's the solution, mate. If you're in a luxury position, it's a little bit like me, and I've with Diaz and Stones, there were players that I wanted to get in for the security of double game weeks. Of course, then Diaz doesn't play in the double, but probably now plays every game left, I should imagine.
That was just unfortunate.
Yeah. It is what it is. That's fine. But ideally, on a longer term, you go, well, Cancelo's the best pick. It's fairly clear. Now, luxury move for me is, Stones to Cancelo. If I got no other issues, if I got there and I was so happy with my team, great. Are you so happy with your team that you've got that luxury to go from Foden to Gundogan? Because it's proven that at Liverpool, I know Gundogan went off against Liverpool as well, but so did Foden in the same game, right?
Yeah, it's difficult where, and obviously I benched Foden in that game, but I don't know. It feels difficult at the moment what to do with City assets. But at the moment, the thing is just hold fire and wait and see. There is a certain ginger Belgian in the background, ready and waiting. I'm looking forward to seeing what his beard game is saying. Has he still got the little fluffy goatee or what have you? But Kevin De Bruyne coming back in.
The thing is, it's easy to say,
boots.
Getting back in as a differential.
Who, KDB?
And a lot of us have got money in the bank, but a lot of us are also thinking, I want to go to Kane or something like that. So on paper, you go, I've got money in the bank, Gundogan to KDB if he's back fit. This is, to be honest, this is only on the assumption that Gundogan could be out for a few weeks. You go, I'll make that transfer. But I don't think I would. And that's because the guys defensively at the back are obviously still great value. All right, they're a little bit expensive now. Cancelo and Diaz, I think, are both over 6 million, aren't they? But I would probably rework it to go, well, I'll leave the money in that midfield area at the cheaper, work in Harry Kane, and I'll just go treble defensively. It looked like they're going to keep, the thing is, it looked like they're going to keep clean sheet every single game at the moment as well.
Yeah,
they really do. So I think I would go down that route rather than force De Bruyne in for the bigger money and not be quite sure where he's at in terms of fitness, etc. You couldn't make if they were both fit at the moment. You couldn't make a case. If De Bruyne was back, if De Bruyne played tomorrow night and played well, and Gundogan didn't, but then they were both available for Sunday, you couldn't make the case to go from Gundogan to De Bruyne, could you? No. Because of the value of the players, you just couldn't.
No. Just 2 quick notes on this game, James, before we move on to Brighton, Aston Villa. The first being, I did have an idea on Saturday that most Spurs fans probably wouldn't begrudge. Just give City the League Cup there and then, because to be honest, they're going to take it, and that will ease some fixture congestion if we didn't bother having to play the final further down in a few weeks. I just had something said to me that I thought I would share with you, James, that might make you feel better. It might make you feel better. The last time West Ham finished above Spurs was 2007-8. That year, the League Cup win was for a manager who'd come in place of a hugely popular one amongst the fan base. Masked what was a massive decline in league form. He just about clung on. The summer saw the 2 best attacking players sold, and he was sacked 8 games into the next season, famously with 2 points from. there's a few similarities there. So we finish
saying?
above you in the league,
What
and
you
Jose
saying?
will be gone 8 games into next season, mate. But you will have the League Cup.
And we're also going to have to sell Kane and Son by the sounds of it.
Yes, yeah. I mean, that's if history repeats itself. You never know.
There is a chance. There was some rumours. I know this is very off FPL topic, but I spoke about this on Tottenham last week about the potential of me maybe getting a ticket for the final. There was large rumours yesterday that went round that basically for Wembley to host games with any fans at Euro 2020, they have to have 2 test events with fans first. And they're earmarking the 2 cup finals, the League Cup final and the FA Cup final, as possible test events to have fans, maybe 10, 15,000 or so in the ground. If that's the case, I've got a chance.
Nice.
And I'm going to wait over a year to see my team play football live. And I'm just going to go to Wembley to see my team get their pants pulled down by Man City. You never know on the day. And listen, our best hope is a 0-0 draw and win on penalties, let's be honest. Because don't be getting excited by Rodri. I wouldn't even guarantee he's on the next penalty, by the way. See what Guardiola said after the game about it. It was like, shit penalty, basically. It's like, I'm not sure he's going to be on the next one. Well done for him stepping forward. But
look, Ederson got as far as the halfway line. Maybe next time he'll get as far as the box and eventually get his hands on the ball. Brighton, there's 2 ways of looking at this game. Brighton 2.33, Aston Villa 0.14, or Brighton 0, Emi Martinez 9 saves. Basically, Super Martinez pulling it out of the bag. I feel like I don't know how to deal with this, James. I feel like I need to take Brighton seriously from an FPL point of view because they're playing so well and creating chances and shooting up the table. They're in form, right? Right now, they're playing as well as almost anyone in the league. But I have no idea where to. Like, I don't know who from their squad I would even bother looking at from an FPL point of view. Feels like one of the best teams in the league from form, but we've got no interest almost.
If I was wildcarding and I wasn't bench boosting in 26, i.e. leaving players on the bench, I think someone like Lewis Dunk's perfect at the moment. You can make a case that at 4.9, why would you pay that when you can have White at 4.4 or Joel Veltman, I thought was brilliant again on Saturday night, 4.3 million. I'd be a little bit concerned about rotation for him. Ben White less so. And obviously Adam Webster's 4.4 missed out at the weekend. Every chance he'll come back in as well. So if you weren't free hitting in 29 and you're not bench boosting in 26, if you've got the luxury, and I think that the luxury is probably for wildcarders at the moment, I'd consider a Brighton player, honestly, particularly defensively. They've got Newcastle at home in 29. Other than that, the attacking wise, it's the same story. Dominate a game, don't score goals. I mean, it must be said in this particular occasion, unlike certain other games Brighton have had, the goalkeeper has pulled out an absolute weldy here. He's had a mad one, mate. Absolutely brilliant. Possibly best individual goalkeeping performance of the season. Must be very close. Dean Smith said Aston Villa weren't even bang average. He was very honest, babes, like we was shit. And in terms of Villa, they're probably the most looked at team at the moment, I would say, because with them, you can have goalkeeper, defensive, midfield, or forward assets. Yeah, Martinez to the different options defensively, Grealish in midfield, Watkins up front. You could make a case for Barkley, although he's not in form at the moment. So unlike with Tottenham, it does feel like across Villa's team to cover 26, 29, there are options all the way through. A little bit alarmingly, though, they've had a dip here. So just looking at the last 5 games since they beat Newcastle, lost 3-2 at Burnley, and they shouldn't have that night. They were a better team and should have won. Then they won at Southampton, and they were lucky, right? The handball that night with Matty Cash could have gone down to 10 men very early. They got well beat by you. You beat them comfortably.
Oh, easy. Yeah.
Then they beat Arsenal 1-0. Now, they scored early. They did have chances in the game, but actually Arsenal had a lot more of the ball in that game than I think Villa would like. And they got battered Saturday night by Brighton and should have lost. So there's definitely a small dip off here. And it might just be the fact that that same 11 plays every week, which is good for FPL managers, but it might be beginning to catch up on them a little bit. We saw Nakamba play against Arsenal rather than Louise, and I thought that was a little bit strange. Louise came back in for the game at the weekend. We've seen Traore regularly come off, Trezeguet getting some minutes, Barkley's been hooked early. Even the substitutions regularly feel like the same substitutions. And now, really, for the first time this season, they appear to have an injury that could, other than Barkley, sustain to their first 11, because Matty Cash, we think, was a hamstring injury. And if it turns out to be a hamstring injury, he's probably going to be out till, I guess, around about game week 29 and beyond, which could make Ahmed El Mohammadi at 4.3 million an interesting one to follow if you haven't bought Villa defensively yet and are looking to go in for that period. It could be that he gets a run. I would want to know that Cash is out till April before I made that transfer personally. But short-term thinking, he might be an option. I don't think there's an alternative to Villa playing anything different there. I'd be surprised if they brought Hawes in and maybe moved Concert to right back. I don't see that sort of move. I don't see them moving anybody from their midfielders to right back. So I think El Mohammadi probably plays at right back. The thing is, though, you don't really need to take that risk when Esri Concert's 4.6 himself.
Yeah.
I don't think you need to do it. But then you got the attacking potential from a right back, possibly one to consider. Martinez, regular question we've had recently is who to pair him up with. We answered this on the Q&A we did for patrons yesterday.
So let's tell people.
Well, yeah, the answer is it doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. Like, get a 4.0 with him if you're running through the fixtures, because it doesn't matter. There's not often that you're going to leave him out. To be honest, Villa's fixtures between now and game week 31, the toughest fixture is probably this game week against Leicester. So, all right, you play Martinez against Leicester at home. It's okay, isn't it? I don't think it matters.
3 points, 4 points. It might
be. There'll be teams out there at the moment who've got Martinez and Pope, for example, which, I mean, for bench boost 26 and with the money available, fine, no problem at all. But then I think there's a choice to be made afterwards, and it would probably be sell Pope of the two.
A few more games to get through, James. Southampton 1, Wolves 2. Southampton lose again and are steadily on a slide. They're down to like 13th now in the table. I'm really surprised. Obviously, they have had injuries. But Danny Ings back on the score sheet, so he's going to be getting quite a bit of attention because he did pick up some bonus points as well. Double game weeks ahead. And we know what Danny Ings can do in this game. But Wolves fans must be breathing a sigh of relief to come back. And once again, second half. They should just literally play second halves and they'll be all right.
Yeah, but to be honest, for many games this season, they haven't even turned up the second half, actually.
No,
mate.
They haven't. So at least they're doing that now, which is a start.
This did feel a little bit like Wolves of old in the sense of frustrating first half, but then they really were the better side in the second half. Yep. And the main change for Wolves, just to cover them off, because in spite of the fact we've got a double and we've got Bradley on Clash to Correspondence this week as well, previewing Wolves and Leeds. That'll be out on Thursday. I don't want to talk about them too much. But the main change obviously came Neto and Traore switching sides. So you had two impacts, mainly become inverted. And it just meant that the whole team was a little bit closer together. It meant that the wing backs could get higher. Johnny being back is a bonus for them and is worth keeping an eye on. But even with a double to come, I don't think Wolves are of huge interest at the moment. It'd only be Neto, wouldn't it?
Neto
if you had
is
to.
So good, though. Yeah.
I'm
not buying any Wolves. I'm just not. I'm not seeing enough consistency from them. I mean, Neto's returned twice in the last 7-8 weeks. He's hardly got returns this season enough to justify over any of the midfield. Like 6.6 million. I'd take a Rafinha right now over a Neto.
So I mean, Wolves this week have got Leeds, nice fixture, potentially a double, which is Newcastle away, and we think it's going to be Manchester City away. 27. They go to Villa. 28, we've got Liverpool. Don't play in 29. 30, they've got West Ham. Then they have a brilliant run of fixtures for those looking to wildcard in 31. And I'm fairly certain that in my intention now, which is to wildcard in 31, I will have Wolves for a 5-game stretch of Fulham, Sheffield United, Burnley, West Brom and Brighton.
And likely to be Neto.
To be honest, with those 5 fixtures, it's likely to be something defensive as well. But I worry about that near game week 31.
Southampton, Danny Ings. I mean, we can cover off in a short summary what your thoughts are, because we can point regular listeners to the People's Poll that was released yesterday. James and Ali FPL Gaffer, our Southampton correspondent, gave a decent rundown on the FPL assets from the Saints with the amount of fixtures and double game weeks that they've got coming up. Having said that, they have lost 6 games in a row, man.
Yeah, I mean, the only game they've won since they beat Sheffield United when they went 4th in game week 12 was against Liverpool. That will sum up a Premier League season for you. They've got a major problem at right back now because Kyle Walker-Peters has suffered a setback. My instinct would be that Jack Stevens probably goes and plays there. And if player 4, the product of that might be that Ryan Bertrand gets a little bit more forward for those who want to get really punty for potentially 3 double game weeks, and that's what we're waiting on as well, isn't it? If it's 3 double game weeks we're buying, if they're not doubling in 26, for many of us it's going to be, I'm not sure. I'll be surprised if the game week started and I haven't bought Danny Ings. That's my take on it at the moment. It's probably Ings for Antonio. I really do not want to sell Antonio before the Planet FPL derby, but with 3 doubles to come,
especially because he's just had a rest as well.
Well, judging by his Twitter page, he wasn't fucking resting anything on Sunday. Have you seen that?
Yeah, I have.
Yeah,
telling
his missus via the world that he loves her with all his willy rather than his heart because his willy's bigger than his heart.
Yeah. But you tweeted it, and I thought it. I was like, mate, if you're gonna do that, you love her with your thighs, man, because they are the biggest chunk.
To be honest, if I was a West Ham fan and I read that tweet, I'd be looking at it and going, "Yeah, that's funny. By the way, you better be fucking fit tomorrow." And he wasn't. So, yeah, all right,
he's having a laugh, man. It's just joking around on Valentine's Day.
Yeah, but he's had a fitness test, so he's obviously worn himself out all on Sunday, isn't he?
No,
yes, mate.
Firstly, that tweet is stolen from a movie or something. I'm pretty sure it's in a movie or something. It's a famous tweet from elsewhere. It's not his own words.
Do you really think
stolen tweet?
Do you really? You saw the girl; she's a pretty girl. Do you really think he went? Sorry, babes, got a fitness test tomorrow.
Yeah.
Bullshit, mate.
Nah. He's like you and me, mate. He's got about 3 kids, and you know what happens after you have kids? You realise, hang on a second, I'm not using this again. Fucking problems happen when you use this.
Yeah, you fucked up. You had 2.
Yeah.
What game are we talking about? Oh, Southampton.
We're talking about Danny Ings for Antonio.
Oh, yeah, that's why. Yeah. I think that's a likely for me. To be honest, Southampton-wise, even doing that pod with Ali yesterday, like, I think Armstrong and Ward-Prowse are interesting. Ward-Prowse is interesting purely on the basis of the fact that they could have 3 doubles in a row. That's minimum 12 points. They play every minute of every game. It's just minimum 12 points over a 3 game week period. Any attacking returns, and it's a nice return over 3 game weeks.
Yeah.
So he's going to get you at least 4 every game week if they have the 3 doubles, which we think will probably happen. Defensively, I think that with Kyle Walker-Peters out means probably no. McCarthy is still a consideration for me personally, but it depends on if Fulham and West Brom have doubles in 26 or not as well. I think I'm likely to probably just buy Danny Ings this week. I have 2 frays. I think if they have another double in 26, I can see me buying Ward-Prowse or Armstrong as a punt. And McCarthy, if neither Fulham or West Brom play in 26.
I'm not really excited by Southampton assets at the moment, but doesn't fit in with my squad structure either. But worth a listen. Listen to Ali Gaffer and James talk about Southampton assets in yesterday's People's Poll. West Brom 1, Manchester United 1.
Quite how West Brom ended this game with a higher XG than Man United, I'm not quite sure. Because they only went into Man United's half 4 times. But then West Brom should have won the game by the end. It's a remarkable game. United, I've watched this game so many times with United. It's sloppy. We had an argument yesterday about Diane's goal, and I stand by what I said. There's nothing wrong with that as a goal.
I still feel like he comes across and he's got his arms around Lindelof. He's got his arms on Lindelof. If it's the other way around, it would be blown as a penalty all day.
It wouldn't. It would not be given as a penalty. No chance.
If Diang was in front and Lindelof did that to get in front of him to head the ball away, you're telling me that wouldn't be called as a penalty?
All right, let me put you this. I know his hand went in his face, right? But if he put his arm away and it was in his chest and pushed him away, would that be a foul? When he's just trying to get an advantage? No, it wouldn't. So what? Because the hand's in his face and he can't see.
He's physically pulling him. He's physically pulling him back.
He doesn't. It's a handoff, mate. It's a handoff. So I'm not having it.
I don't know. I
Anyway,
mean, look, it wasn't given, right? And there wasn't a massive outrage on Twitter or whatever about it
no, it
afterwards.
was just
So
Harry Maguire crying quite a
I'm
lot
definitely going to
post-match
be in
interview.
the minority of people. But when I looked at it, I was like, hang on a second, can he be that physical? Regardless, he was a big physical presence against that Manchester United backline. He gave them problems all of the time. Sometimes a little bit, I felt clumsily, but he is a physical presence, and we did talk about it yesterday. He needs to be a bit cheaper, but he when you're at the bottom, you need someone that can put the ball in the back of the net, and he possibly might be the one that can do that for West Brom in the next 4, 5, 6 games.
No guaranteed double. No game in the blank. Not keen. I mean, it was, Watkins is like 0.0. Watkins 0.5 more. I could make no case for him over Ollie Watkins at the moment. And even Madger is 0.5 cheaper. I mean, I'd rather buy Josh Madger of Fulham rather than buy Dejan of West Brom. Johnston could end up staying for me if it works out. They have a 26 double. It's just going to save me transfer. Okay, fine. I'll have him for a double. If I've got him for a double game with Brighton and Everton, it's not the worst thing in the world. And good other fixtures either side as well, Burnley and Newcastle, although I would pick Areola over him this coming game week if that was to be the case. For United, I've got Bruno. I think the nagging thing with Bruno is knowing, and this is the same with Salah, there's a period coming up where if you're going to go with the guys in the doubles, you're probably not captaining them for quite a while. Generally looking further ahead, probably go Bruno's possibly game week 30. Salah possibly not even till around about game week 32 or 33. That's such a long period. And I'm going to be wildcarding 31. So it probably makes Salah completely expendable for me. It's just a case of, do I potentially want to be taking a hit for Heung-min Son over him in game week 26 when these two guys, Salah and Bruno, have got doubles themselves? I'm not convinced that that's what I want to do. No. Bruno's consistency is brilliant. He's got 2 away games. That's probably better for him. Chelsea and Crystal Palace.
This game was away.
We assume it will be in 26. This game just gone was away. If it wasn't for the doubles of Leeds Southampton, he would be the most popular captaincy pick this week. And he will still be heavily captained this week with United hosting Newcastle. I've no other Manchester United players consideration for me. There was a thought towards Rashford last week, but it's too frustrating in my mind for the value that he is. I think
he is. Trust me, I own him, and he is frustrating.
No, no, Cavani, no. The moment's gone for me, so I won't be adding anything defensively. Gary Neville made a brilliant comment. It was absolutely perfect about Maguire and Lindelof last night on MNF. Loved it. It was so spot on. Basically said they're both good defenders, but they're bad for each other.
Right.
Maguire needs someone with the pace to cover, and Lindelof is a little bit similar. If he could just be a natural defender and had someone more powerful with him. And Maguire is quite powerful, but he plays with fear of the ball over the top. They're probably both good centre halves. They're just actually a bad pairing. They're both good players, but they're possibly a bad pairing. I mean, there's a lot of United fans would like Bailly to play instead of Lindelof, but he can't get himself fit from one week to the next. So they have periods where you think, oh, they've got it now defensively, and then there are periods where they don't. I mean, the reality is they dominated this whole game and should have lost. That's the truth.
One of the places you could spend your Salah or Bruno Fernandes money, James, would be Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang, who has returned with a hat trick. Now he's not on my radar.
I'd rather downgrade to Rafinha, mate. Next,
their fixtures are a dog. However, for people like us wildcarding in maybe 30, 31, from 31 onwards, their fixtures are incredible. So Aubameyang, all I want Aubameyang to do is play reasonably well in the next 5, 6, 7 game weeks, work himself up into some decent form, and see that Arsenal are doing okay. Because Arsenal, albeit yet they did well here, good result winning against Leeds, ends up high scoring, open end-to-end kind of nonsense. But game week 31 onwards, for that run in, if Arsenal are in with a chance of even catching top 4 or the European places, I don't think they're going to win the Europa League, then Aubameyang's going to be key to that. I do think that from 31 onwards, we'll be having a look at Arsenal assets, but not
I think we might be looking again from 27, actually, quite possibly. Burnley and Tottenham before the blank fixture against West Ham. Listen, it's just the fact that they're a team that's going to be heading towards a blank means that we will be talking about them after game week 26. That's a certainty.
Yeah, fair play.
In
I
terms
agree with
in
that.
terms of buying now for Man City and a single fixture in 26 away to Leicester, no, thank you. So we can revisit at 27. But what I would say about them is the addition of Odegaard into the front three is giving them greater fluidity behind Aubameyang. It's good for Aubameyang as well because he now feels that there are three players behind him who could potentially provide from him. We spoke so much this season about creativity problems for Arsenal. They had a real fluidity on Sunday. What they did really well in the game, and this is beginning to happen quite a lot to Leeds, and I think it's something that can help in terms of predicting what may happen in Leeds games. So what Arsenal did really well is movement. And they just completely rotated that front line over and over again because Leeds obviously want to go with this man-to-man system. Eventually, someone's going to get caught out. If you move them about enough, eventually, somewhere, space is going to open up. And it happened countless times in that first hour where someone was just running through empty space for Arsenal because one player had managed to drag two players or drag someone so far out of position that a space had opened up for someone else. Arsenal did that really well on Sunday. And looking ahead to games that are coming up for Leeds, interestingly, Wolves, I don't think that's a problem. I don't see Wolves rotating their movement a lot. Southampton might. People like Armstrong and Redmond are quite capable of going on a wander actually and dragging people across the pitch. Villa, it's only really Grealish, so that's less of a problem. West Ham in 27, you're not a team that will do it to them either, although Lingard is the sort of player that's capable.
Yeah, I mean, well, yesterday we didn't play with a front striker, and the front three then are a lot more fluid in Lingard and Bowen and what have you. So it depends on the personnel on the pitch on the day, I would say.
So ironically, we what we've done here, we've kind of focused on Leeds defensively in games coming up that could and might not give them an issue. But what we've actually done is realised that Arsenal are now a side capable of giving other teams an issue going forward because of movement off the ball and just an added little bit more creativity to them. So I do think we'll be talking about them again come 27. For Leeds assets, again, Andy Martin's coming on COTC on Thursday, but it feels quite straightforward. Dallas, Rafinha, Bamford. I don't think I don't think it's as complicated as it is with Southampton. I think they're the best choices in the positions. If you want Meslier, fine, it's not a problem. But I feel like it's quite straightforward choices-wise, and it's just a case of do you want to do it or not, or can you do it? And for me personally, I can't answer that question until I see the fixtures, because whether I buy Leeds this week or not is probably dependent on whether Fulham play in 26. And Fulham's fixtures have nothing to do with Leeds. It's just how many transfers I've then got spare.
Of course, yeah. I'm sitting on Bamford and Dallas already. The right week to bench Stuart Dallas, thank God. But Rafinha is looking at me. He's returned every game week since game week 20 when that was the game week you had him and then sold him, James. Just, reminding you. But he has returned every single game week since. And Rafinha at his price is looking like a decent option to play and have for game week 29 when there are not a lot of games.
That's really interesting. That actually the fact that he's returning every game. The 4 games since I had his return at Newcastle in 20, and he's picked up 5,965 since. I have no regret on it, even though I might be going back as well. It's interesting.
It's because he's 5.3 million, mate. It's just cheap as chips, isn't it? Really. So
I don't have any regret on it. I mean, that price is incredible. 5.3.
Ridiculous now. Yeah,
Can't.
I think he's one that could be a Souček replacement for me. Actually, as good as Souček is as an asset. With West Ham's run at the moment, I'm not so keen.
We speak a lot about differential captains. For someone like you with your rank at the moment who wants to make climbs, this week you've got Bruno's going to be heavily captained with a single fixture, and you've got Leeds and Southampton with doubles. Bamford is obviously going to be heavily captained. Danny Ings is a great differential captain potentially. We'll talk about Chelsea in a sec. I still don't feel like I've learned anything on them defensively. But Rafinha could be a monster good differential captain this week. And I think they're the 4 best captaincy options this game week. I'd put Rafinha definitely in the top 5, I would say. So you want to take a punt on captain this week, Rafinha. Why not?
Everton 0, Fulham 2. I didn't watch this. James, you watched it cover to cover?
Um, I wrote an article for the advanced tiers this morning on Patreon, and I said so. And once I posted it, I instantly regretted it because I thought someone was going to fucking ask me about that. So I'm just going to get it out of the way now. Harrison Reed's performance reminded me of someone, Suj.
Who?
Myself. As a young player, it reminded me of myself. This little midget running around. I'm going to put a trumpet up my bum here now. Dictating play, being a nuisance, shouting and ordering people about, winning the ball. He reminded me of myself. He was also, because I've been asked before, who would you compare yourself to? And I'd say, in terms of modern player, probably Harry Winks. That performance was everything that I would like Harry Winks to be at the moment. So full credit to Harrison Reed. You said he was brilliant against you. I was a bit like...
only a week ago that my brother said, who's that little ginger chap?
Yeah, he's brilliant.
He's everywhere. And he was really good against us.
And he was head and shoulders for me best player on the pitch on Sunday night, in spite of Magic scoring the 2 goals.
Remind me.
It's from Southampton, but I think they bought him, no?
Is he from Southampton? Oh, did they bought him? I know he was on loan last season.
I think they bought him. Yeah. Really good. We're not bigging Harrison Reed up as an FPL option. I just wanted to share that
as
with
a player. Yeah. But it then creates the base that other assets like your Lookmans, Loftus-Cheeks, whoever else you're looking at might become assets.
There is an FPL knock on to that, possibly for Anguissa owners though, who might have been thinking, if they double in 26 and obviously play in 29, that's a cheeky one as a fifth midfielder. That's beginning to look a little bit dodgy. And generally, just anyway, from an FPL point of view, because of that, I would still avoid Reed if you're thinking fifth midfielder. Same with Anguissa, and I would also avoid Lamina as well, because I think they probably are likely to rotate a little bit. Madja's interesting now at 5.5 because he's at that price that's unlike Diane. He's come in at under everybody. So if you're struggling budget-wise, again, if they double in 26, I think it's possibly a consideration. Just also with Fulham, though, you need to factor in the fact that if you're heading towards them in the blank of 29, which is Leeds, and you know what you're going to get with Leeds, you could get anything. They play Liverpool and Manchester City beforehand. So it's a tough run for them as well. These next 3 are massive.
Is he the main man up top, do you think? There's no
Magic,
Caballero gets in ahead of him?
Yeah, I wouldn't have a doubt with that, because Mitrovic obviously is a really good target man. If you cross the ball into the right areas, he'll score goals. Caballero, he's a wide player, really. And he's improved a lot, in my opinion, in the last 3 or 4 months, but he doesn't have the killer instinct in front of goal. No. Madja, I only have to look at the 2 goals to know that's a striker. Just from movement. He senses opportunities. The first goal particularly, I don't think Mitrovic or Caballero scored that goal. I think they're probably stuck stationary in the box, and he knows where to go. He knows that he's got Holgate right where he wants him. And you can't blame Holgate on the goal. He just gets himself into the position where he knows he's most likely to score. It's clever. Looks a good forward to me. Lookman could have had a major haul here. I think, as I said earlier, I think Fulham will win at Burnley tomorrow night. And I think if you've got their assets, I think there's potentially more points to come, actually.
Everton concerns. A lot of people did pick up a few because of the double, and then a chance of more doubles in the future, maybe even 27, 28.
There's a lot of rage going on, particularly about Luca Dean. And I'm sure everybody's seen that. I've seen the joke 10 times over from 10 different accounts on Twitter. Don't worry, Lucas. At least you got the difficult game out the way. Only Man City in the week. Ha, ha, ha. I would keep him. If I had any Everton asset at the moment and wasn't wildcard or anything like that, I'd keep him. The 26 double, if it happens, they'll play 2 evenly matched teams, Southampton and Aston Villa. To be honest, at the moment, you're probably putting Southampton under that. But they could, as the game's at Goodison as well, they could easily get beat. But they're also capable.
Villa are not in form either.
We've just spoke that there might be a few issues there. So that's a reasonable double, Southampton and Villa. 27, Chelsea away is not great. We've spoken about that 28 possibility. If that happens, it's Burnley and West Brom. And I'm not joking, that might be Calvert-Lewin the best triple captaincy option of the lot, if those are the 2 fixtures that Everton potentially end up with in 28. So I want to hold on to Calvert-Lewin until I get an announcement on something fixture-wise. And I would wait. I realise the raging people is, I'll have to get rid of Luca Dean, etc. I would think twice about it strongly. Also, they can't be that bad again. Honestly, they were
No,
bad.
and the thing with
Every
them is I do trust Ancelotti to sort them out. If they do put in a bad performance, he's a good manager that will sort them out. And yeah,
everything about them, Ancelotti tactics were wrong in the game. That obviously missed Calvert-Lewin. Performance not good enough. I think they were obviously shattered off the back of the Tottenham game in midweek. You have to remember that for teams who don't play in Europe, to then have an 120-minute game thrown into midweek's tough. Tottenham, obviously, I'm not excusing the defeat at Man City. Wouldn't have made a difference if we played 90 minutes, 120 minutes, 5 hours. Wouldn't have made no difference to the result on Saturday. But for a club like Everton, who's not been in Europe, the 120 minutes is a more difficult thing to manage for someone like them than the clubs who are in Europe who are constantly going 90 minutes 3 times a week. And I think that had a knock-on effect for them in terms of carrying quite a few, probably weren't at 100% fitness. Calvert-Lewin is my understanding at the moment, time recording, is probably not going to make the game tomorrow night and is still a doubt for the game at Liverpool on Saturday. But if I believe he's fit for 26 and that 28 game week is a possibility, I'll be holding on. I'll be holding on and going with 2 forwards for this week. That would be my thinking at the moment. But I think it's probably just them. There's nothing else. I wouldn't be gambling. Even if them fixtures come good, maybe on 28, you could take a gamble if it happens. But Richarlison, James, all of them, Decore, the defensively, they rotate defensively, wouldn't interest me.
let's talk about the 2 Monday night games. Starting yesterday with the 6 o'clock game, West Ham 3, Sheffield United 0.
Jesse Lingard was brilliant. Just get on with it.
Yeah, he was. I mean, again, he could have had attacking returns. Very, very, very good performance. I don't know if I'm necessarily looking to buy him at the moment at 6 million. I'd rather get Rafinha, to be honest with the additional fixtures and what have you. But Jesse Lingard proved that we can adapt our style of play without Antonio. Like there is an alternative now with him playing up top. That if Antonio doesn't play, we still feel like we have someone up at the top of the pitch who's good and can control the ball and ultimately, hopefully, put the ball in the back of the net as well. It felt like we didn't play particularly well, and losing Ogbonna and getting Diop is going to have a little bit of an impact in the back. But it felt like throughout the entire game, it didn't really matter if Sheffield United scored. And we felt like we didn't care if Sheffield United scored because we always knew we were going to score more than they were and end up winning the game. And so we did let them create quite a lot of chances. And David McGoldrick, I mean, could have had a hat-trick on the night, bar Fabianski's heroics in goal. But I always felt like we were going to score more goals than they were. Always. Throughout the entire game. I always felt like we were a better football team than they were and should and could go on and win it. So yeah, it probably wasn't vintage because we let them have too many chances. But it was fine. Now, Antonio, Moyes said before the game, is very, very close. He was close to making it yesterday, but didn't. So fine, you'd expect him to be fit because it's Sunday that we play Spurs in the next game. If you really fancy a punt on Jesse Lingard, he got the assist yesterday. He could score more goals. Creswell just keeps delivering week in, week out. Another 12-pointer yesterday. I mean, his returns have been ridiculous. 118 points so far. He's nearly up to 6 million now.
He's now the highest scoring. I mean, to give you some perspective on the 118 points, he's the highest scoring defender now by 17 points. Justin and Cancelo are the only other 2 players on 100.
He's up to 5.8 now. He's really had a price jump, so it's almost getting to that.
Being a high scoring player in a position naturally is going to get people buying.
Yeah,
people won't even look at the fixtures. They go, he's the highest scoring defender, I'll buy him.
And despite all that, I'm coming away from my West Ham assets because I think the fixture run's going to be particularly difficult moving forward. And there's other things to look at, prioritising Villa and what have you.
That's the point. It's not actually about buying West Ham assets now. It's about do we keep
moving
or not?
Away.
Actually, and it's not a slight on you.
No, of course not.
You just look at it and go,
run.
Tottenham, Man City, Leeds, Man United, Arsenal.
Difficult run.
And then even if you're holding on further, Wolves, Leicester, and then Newcastle, and then Chelsea. I mean, that's a run and a half, mate.
Horrible run. It's a horrible run.
Yeah, I think it's more a case of who am I keeping? Am I benching them? Antonio is the one, and I've always said this. If he's fit, I don't care about the fixtures. I'm not bothered. He's capable against anybody.
But Antonio with those fixtures versus Watkins, who has more fixtures and better fixtures, is a no-brainer for me at the moment. So it really depends on your circumstance. I'm comfortable moving away from West Ham in the short term up until that game week 29, and then I'll reassess when I wildcard in 30 or 31.
Well, it's perfect case, isn't it? So I mean, if you take the Danny Ings comparison, right? So that's my likely transfer this week, Antonio to Danny Ings, most likely. So if Southampton have them 3 doubles, I've got Antonio possibly fit against Tottenham versus Ings double. I've got Antonio away to Man City versus Ings double. Antonio home to Leeds versus Ings double. Then we get back to single fixtures. Antonio's got Man United and Danny Ings has got Brighton.
It's not. You've got to play the percentages in this, and Danny Ings is definitely
Well, a little bit, yeah. And it's not like, again, Danny Ings can't score against. We know that Southampton have a tough run of fixtures, but it's not like Danny Ings can't score in these games. It's just a sheer probability. If you tell me that Danny Ings has got double game weeks for each of the next 3 double game weeks, I'd expect him to score in all of them because he can score in any game.
Sheffield United were already getting relegated. Now that John Egan's possibly out for a little while as well, then they're even more getting relegated. I was just looking at them. I really felt sorry for them seeing John Egan go off because it was just misery on top of misery.
I agreed.
Misery. And it was like, I like Ben Osborne though. I thought he was decent and lively.
He's an okay player. They've got a lot of okay players.
Just not good enough as a team. They need to score some goals.
If they have a double game week in 26, are you buying them? Let's be honest. Are you going anywhere near it?
If they had a triple game week, would you buy it?
Let me put it a different way. Let's say that they have that double in 28 and there's only 4 teams that would double then if that case happens. And it could, in fact, I'll take one away. Let's say that Sheffield United and Aston Villa are the only teams that double in game week 28. Sheffield United would have Leicester away and Aston Villa at home. Would you buy any of them for free?
No.
Unfortunately, that's the reality.
No, and Fleck didn't play either, and obviously he's been in form recently as well. So
they have.
I just felt sorry for him. It's misery on top of misery on top of bad results means they're going down. Unfortunately, Let's wrap up with the last game, James. So I would like to squeeze in a couple of Twitter questions. Chelsea 2, Newcastle 0 point.
There was some good performance here from Chelsea. I quite enjoyed the game. I was doing a draft with some patrons last night, so I watched it back later. I actually watched the game in reverse order because I watched the second half live and then rewatched the first half afterwards. There were things I liked from both teams in this game. Firstly, let's cover off the Kepa laugh because he was in the team quite suddenly out of nowhere. Judging by Tuchel's comments after the game, Mendy will come back in the team. That was what I read from his comments. I like that the wing backs are really high for Chelsea. I think the space, the pockets that the kind of the 210s, if we can call them, let's say Mount and Werner in this particular game were picking up. There's lots I like about them, but I still haven't learned anything because Newcastle played differently against Chelsea to what other teams have. Newcastle went and hunted the ball. We're beginning to see this now from them. And I really like what they're trying to do, Newcastle. But at the end of the day, if you throw fire at fire, what's going to happen to a team like Newcastle against Chelsea?
Eventually, they'll get burnt.
Exactly. You're probably going to get burnt. So Chelsea won the game. They deserved to win the game. They've got better quality players, etc. But it still doesn't give me the answer to what do I think is going to happen when Chelsea begin to play teams like Manchester United and Liverpool in the next couple of weeks. I don't have the answer to that. We still don't really know where we're at on the rotation point of view because is it possible that he's playing the likes of Alonso and Hudson-Odoi in high wing-back positions against this sort of opposition? But when it comes to Liverpool and United, he goes, I'd rather have Chilwell and Reece James, actually. There's just so many questions
yesterday
we haven't got the answers to. If you've got them, you've got to sell them, in my opinion. Now, Chilwell, James and that, unfortunately, they've got to go. You can't just have them sit around on the prospects for game week 26 that they might play twice when it's 2 difficult fixtures anyway. I think they go.
Yeah. Their bench yesterday was a joke. Mendy, Chilwell, Reece James, Emerson, Zuma, Kante, Ziyech, Giroud, Pulisic. I mean, Fuck me, that's a bench and a half.
If I was buying one at the moment, the only one I'd buy is Rudiger. And that's just purely on price. And I think
and he's playing.
And he is playing, 4.6. I know Ted strongly disagreed with it, but I don't mind. I don't, for those bench boosting and only that, I don't mind Jorginho as a facilitator. You could have a bench boost player there who's probably going to play twice and he's probably on penalties. But other than that, if they didn't have the double, it would be no consideration for me. And it's still not. I can't see me going for a Jorginho. Can't see me buying Rudiger either. For Newcastle, the Callum Wilson injuries come at a really bad time. So obviously trying to change what they're doing tactically. And it's not just in terms of this shape, which is more like a diamond, but they are going and hunting the ball during the game. I really liked that at 2-0 down, they didn't just accept their fate. They still tried to do the right things off the ball and get in Chelsea's face and try and get back in the game. So really like that from them. And it makes me think that they're going to be okay, Newcastle, because just tactically like that alone, they might suffocate a couple of teams. I can't believe I'm saying that about Newcastle, but generally that might happen. I would not be at all surprised if they give Manchester United problems at the weekend, playing like that. United will not like playing against that energy. Now, it could flip the other way, where United are used to playing these games and teams sit off the ball, so it could be they get a bit more space, people like Fernandes and stuff like that. If you said to me now, Newcastle gets something at Old Trafford the weekend, I wouldn't be surprised. FPL assets, no, not at the moment.
Should we get in some Twitter questions as well, James? Because we have been going for a little while. We do try and keep it to the 90 minutes.
Yeah, we can do. Jamal Lewis, as we said last week on COTC on Thursday, might be one for a bench boost. We might be one for a wild card if you're not using the bench boost to set you up for 29. 4.2, dirt cheap. You could obviously leave him on the bench in 26, and he's ready for the Brighton fixture in 29, and you can either use him or not use him.
Do you want to give everybody a rundown of what we got this week while I queue up a few Twitter questions that we can answer for people?
Yeah, so Sky Podcast tomorrow. Thursday's Clash of the Correspondents is Wolves versus Leeds with Bradley Parker and FPL Tactician. Friday, I'll be streaming 9 o'clock in the morning for my Ask James stream, and again at 5:30 for the deadline stream. Patrons had Q&A yesterday, quiz today, hosted by one of our patrons, Lauren. Tomorrow, Tottenham. Thursday, Season 4, Episode 32B, where we'll be looking at the games from Wednesday night. And Friday, Differential Show Game Week 25 preview.
Good. Are you ready for a bit of Q&A before we wrap up?
Yeah, why not?
I should tell people the Patreon pods that James mentioned. You can go to patreon.com/Planet FPL and sign up, join our Slack channel, join our mini leagues, and all of that other stuff that we have there. Definitely well worth a look. Right. Rossi Boy FPL says, what flavour of hula hoops do you like best? I used to always go for beef, but now, surprisingly, I'd say cheese and onion.
It's amazing how your taste changes over years, isn't it?
Yeah,
It would be salt and vinegar for me.
Beef, yeah, I'm with you on that. Salt and vinegar are decent. Beef was one that I would eat not that often, but I did like it. But now you realise that it's quite an artificially taste. Thing with who I don't like ready salted crisps as a rule.
That really doesn't stop me getting nuggets from McDonald's.
I generally don't like ready salted crisps, but hula hoops is one of the crisps that I don't mind eating ready salted as well. Maybe it's because they've got a real good crunch to them, that it's not just the flavour, it's the texture and all that.
The other day, I actually went out. I actually went to the supermarket and I bought some prawn cocktail Pringles. She went, what'd you buy them for? And I went, because I knew you wouldn't fucking have them.
Buying food strategically so that the other half doesn't
I'll buy the salt and vinegars or the barbecues. I might not see them, mate.
FPL Binger. You can switch around any forward to any team in the Premier League. Who goes where and why? It's easy for me.
Harry Kane goes to Man City because it'd be the best thing for his career.
It'd be easy for me. Harry Kane goes to West Ham because not only would we have Harry Kane playing at West Ham, the amount of Spurs fans that I know that it would absolutely devastate them would be emotional torture for them that I would just happily pay for. So it's not realistic, but why would I want Harry Kane to go to West Ham? Because it'd be double benefit for us. I think really being realistic, who goes where?
Danny Ings to Tottenham.
You'd like Danny Ings?
After I would, if Harry Kane left this summer, I would bet money that Tottenham will buy Danny Ings.
There's talk that he does want to move on from Southampton this summer. Rumors
I could see that
flying around. Right, Kevin Moemi asks a question. You have to pick a player for each position in FPL to own until the end of the season. Who are you going for? If you had to pick a set and forget keeper,
Martinez.
It's too easy to just say Edison, but Martinez, I think,
Martinez,
is a set keeper. Comfortable defender. I've owned Dallas all season so far, and he's the only defender that I have owned all season so far. Stones, I think Cancelo.
Cancelo. Yeah, to be honest, I was just debating which City one, but yeah, probably Cancelo.
Cancelo. Midfielder to own between now and the end of the season for consistency. Bruno. And forward, Harry Kane.
Yeah.
Kane is becoming more and more of a question mark for the double game week. Chris Wood says, is it worth the hokey cokey with Ings and Kane? You've talked about now Ings' double game week fixtures and so on, and the fact that you're going to ride through with Danny Ings. Are you going cold on the Harry Kane triple captain double game week 26?
To be honest, no. And that's, I mean, to be honest, I wish I'd just used it on Gundogan, right? Because I can't see Kane outscoring that. But whatever doubts I have about Tottenham, I don't doubt the centre forward. He's brilliant. Anytime, any place, I think those fixtures.
Hit the post of the weekend.
And I think, as I've said previously, I think even if it's Southampton, would be better for him than Fulham. Although if it's Fulham, it will catch even more attention to people just because. So, yes, I'm likely to triple captain Harry in 26. My thinking at the moment, and it's dependent on the way the fixtures fall, but it's probably for me, as I said, Antonio to Ings this week. Kane in for Bamford next week for 26, as long as Calvert-Lewin still has those potential doubles. If not, it'll be Calvert-Lewin binned. And then I'm probably looking at going either Calvert-Lewin or Ings, or possibly even both, back towards Bamford, Watkins, Antonio around 28, 29. I'll be flexible with that. So there'll be some hokey cokey for me anyway. There has to be. I don't think I can afford to just leave Bamford in there. And I know I've heard other people say this, and it's quite true, that probably once you sell someone like him at the value he is now, you're probably not going back. I would look at it and go, for me, if I buy him back in 29 for Fulham and then Sheffield United in 30 before wildcarding, the value is irrespective. I'm buying him back in maybe for those two particular games. So, but then I could make that choice. There'll be decisions to make if I wait till 29, be it, as I said, Antonio, Watkins, Bamford. Might even be by then that Aubameyang's injured and it's Lacazette. Who knows, right?
Yeah.
So happy to keep my options open. Might be Neil Maupay. Who knows? Might even be that Joe Linton's doing that. Yeah, moving on. Next question.
I thought this is going off on a slightly random tangent. Last question of the show, James, goes to Amber Redmond, who asks, there's been a lot of surprising results this season, 7-2s and so on. Teams not performing as we'd expect them to. How much of this can we attribute to playing without fans and the hectic schedule? To put it another way, what does this season have an asterisk for you?
Oh, yeah, because we've been shit. So Definitely. I'll take the asterisk for the last 2 years. Yes, there's loads with non-fans, and the amount of fixtures has definitely had an impact. I think you only have to look at things like Villa looking like they're slowing down a bit. Southampton's results over this period, which warned about and said they might struggle till they get out of this twice a week thing, which again makes you think, well, why do I want to buy Southampton players if they keep playing twice a week? I get that. At least now it's doubles rather than single fixtures.
It's one of the things I credit Moyes because over this period he has rotated, especially the front five, quite a bit Bornell's dropping in and out, Bowen dropping in and out. If he's kept us fresh, that means we can go into this run quite well. Then he would have done really well. So I think actually the impact of playing without fans has had less than the hectic schedule more recently. But with the asterisk, I think the asterisk is that this is how it's going to continue, because if you look all the way down to 11th and 12th in the league now, you've got good teams with good players with good managers. Like, it's getting more and more difficult to
just really offended
to
8
get in
teams,
these games.
didn't you?
Well, I don't even know who's 12 for, but what I'm saying is the top 4 became the top 6. Is now you're looking at Everton have got a Carlo Ancelotti and they've got some very, very good players. West Ham are where they are on merit. Aston Villa under Dean Smith have got a good system and a structure of play now. There's no more gimmies, and I think as we progress, there's going to be less and less teams running away and walking with. I mean, City are a different league at the moment, at the top, very tippy top, but in that rest of that bracket from 3rd and 4th all the way down to 10th, anyone can beat anyone on any given day if they play to the best of their abilities, and I think that's going to continue. Double down on that. Big teams like Spurs and Arsenal, they're not going to be able to throw money around in the summer to fix their problems. You can't go and spend £200 million on players because of COVID. They haven't got.
Might be selling Harry Kane for that amount, so we might be.
True. If that's the case, then yeah, sure. But that's going to cause you more problems than I think spending 200 million might fix. So I just don't think the big clubs have got the money to throw around to fix that problem as well. And you'll see the development of youth talent becoming more and more interesting. I like it. Like, who would have ever thought Carlo Ancelotti would be managing an Everton, for example? I mean, he's been at AC Milan and Chelsea. It's one of the biggest clubs.
He's getting paid well. It's not.
Yeah, no doubt about it. I think with the likes of Moyes, for example, he's had some jobs. It's when the club manager fit is quite right. And at West Ham, he may not be the best manager in the world, but if the fit's right with the system and the structure in the club, which is similar to his Everton days, it can be really successful. Hasenhüttl, I mean, there's a lot of bigger clubs that would want Hasenhüttl and his style, albeit they're in a bad slump at the moment. So there's a lot of good managers and a lot of good players in that mid-tier now. We haven't even mentioned Nuno and Wolves, who are in a bad space right now, but should and could be considered right up there. So yeah, I think all well and good. You can say that the big teams haven't been performing. The fans haven't been there. The schedule's been tough. Everybody that's been doing well has been doing well on merit across that space. And I think it's going to continue.
Yep. Nobody has great consistency at the moment other than Manchester City. And I do think there is a levelling out from the likes of Tottenham and Arsenal to the Villa and Evertons and stuff. There's a levelling of the playing field somewhat. So that certainly had an impact as well. Be interesting to see what happens when football is back to normal, if football's ever back to normal.
Yep. Well, I mean, I have this debate quite often with West Ham. It's like, we're probably doing well because there's no fans. But then on the flip side, I look at it, and if we are doing well, then the fans do get behind the team, and maybe we'd strive even more. So it's a really difficult one to understand the impact of the fans. And we'll see
I give it 2 months, and it will be all the rage on Twitter, GSB out and all that.
2 months?
Yeah, at maximum. It might even be a couple of weeks if Antonio's out injured for a while, mate.
Okay, who do you think will be out first, Mourinho or GSB? It's going to be Mourinho.
Yeah.
GSB own the club; they can't fire themselves. But
yeah.
I disagree. I think we'll be fine. And you know, I read that tweet out earlier, or that message earlier. You're going to win the league, but Mourinho will be sacked 8 games into next season. And on
going to win the league, are we?
No, League Cup. Sorry.
Listen, I've got this prick so he can win trophies. So as I keep telling everyone, and I've been telling everyone for over a year, you better fucking win one.
Indeed. I hope you guys are enjoying your double game. We'll be back at you on Thursday with a rundown of the last 2 games that could have quite an impact on the standings, and a look forward to the doubles and what have you moving forward, and what our strategy around transfers will be. In the meantime, stay safe. Ciao for now.
Thanks, everyone. Good luck this game week. Cue music, please, man. Ciao.